keep the series going. Okay, so we're talking to the do-it-yourself seller. All right, so I'm Ashley Keller Williams Real Estate. So I'm gonna go right on into like negotiation and the contracts part. Okay, I think to me, I mean, look, we've already kind of discussed some unique challenges that go with sort of selling on your own. So I think that you're beginning to become aware that, you know, you're going to have to do some things, maybe, and sort of figure out some workarounds. But I think that to me, contracts are probably the most complicated part, perhaps. Like, I have to be honest, like, I'm not sure how people get the contracts. I guess, here's what I have seen with some for sale by owners. I have seen that some of them work with a real estate lawyer. So obviously, if you're willing to pay a real estate lawyer to handle the contract side, then you've got it covered. If you didn't want to pay a real estate lawyer, then, I mean, I guess you could go online and maybe like print something off. Like, I just don't know what that would look like, to be honest with you. And, you know, what I use as a real estate professional is like the standard state approved real estate contract. All right. So it's been worked on by teams of lawyers and it's been approved by the state. Okay. And that's what we use. And, yeah, I think it seems like it makes a lot of sense. Seems pretty straightforward. I guess I can't imagine that real estate purchases happen on like a typed up sheet of paper. I mean, you know, I guess maybe. Okay. But I think perhaps a lot of buyers are a little more sophisticated than that and might find selling or buying something that's like $500,000 with like on the back of a napkin or whatever is probably not going to work. So here's what I would recommend. Okay. I would recommend that you cooperate with a buyer's agent. And the reason that I would recommend that, I mean, I guess there's two options. I think option one is you cooperate with a buyer's agent, pay the buyer's agent a commission. Okay. And, you know, kind of, you know, in some ways put the transaction in their hands, right? Because what they're going to do is they're going to have their buyer's going to come and see the property, and then they're going to use the standard state contracts to make the purchase happen. All right. They're also going to have connections with escrow. You know, they're going to be able to work with title and all of that stuff. And so, you know, it's just my opinion that I think that commission would be well spent, right? Like, they basically take on the liability in some ways for the entire transaction, right? Because you're not really writing the contract. They would be writing it. And, you know, we're required to, you know, follow these rules. And so, I mean, I think that would probably be the most sensible thing. Now, with that being said, because you are representing yourself, I mean, if you're not a lawyer, you know, you may consider spending some money to have a real estate lawyer look over the final contract just to make sure that everything is clear to you. It a little bit depends on how clear and how well you feel that you understand the contract. So those are my recommendations. I'd recommend that you cooperate with the buyer's agent. You know, maybe spend some money and have a real estate lawyer look over the contract before you kind of like do the final thing. So you might need a little extra time to look it over. And yeah, and just kind of go from there. I mean, that would be like if you don't really know anything about contracts. I mean, obviously there are people that are like ex-real estate agents or whatever, you know, maybe they can phone a friend and get the contracts or whatever. I mean, you know, that happens, right? So yeah. And I mean, I think the thing to kind of keep in mind is, you know, there is a certain amount of liability, right? Like so like as a real estate agent, you know, my ability to draft contracts you know, like the state standard contract is in some ways very limited. Like, you know, adding language to the contract is complicated, okay? Because, you know, I'm not a lawyer, you know, and you're presumably not a lawyer. So when you add language to the contract, it just is inherently risky, right? There's like some risk. And yeah, which means you're taking on some liability. You know, real estate agents do have liability insurance. I mean, you probably don't have liability insurance. So, you know, if something happens, like, you know, you're just, I guess, gonna have to like work it out and pay whatever you have to pay to make it go away. So yeah, that's complicated. So, I think that would be what I would highly recommend. Offer a buying agent commission and hope that you get a buyer that has an agent. Because I just don't know. I'm not sure what you would do if you had a buyer without an agent. I guess you could go online and find these contracts maybe. Yeah, well, or you just hire a real estate lawyer. That's an option too. Contact a real estate lawyer, get a real estate attorney to draft up whatever you and the buyer come up with. Boom, that's easy. But you pay for that, right? So, I mean, they don't use state standard contracts and stuff, so they're going to be, yeah, they probably have something. They may have access to it, actually. They may have access to the state standards contract, and then that's simple. Then you just pay them for like whatever, maybe it's just an hourly fee. I imagine some of them do like a, maybe they just charge you. Like for me to draft a real estate contract, I charge whatever it is. I don't know, $2,000. It's called, I don't know. I have no idea, but you know, maybe it's something like that. So yeah, that would work. And then probably if they're a real estate lawyer, probably they could do your escrow for you. Yeah, they might be able to do your escrow also and kind of roll it all in together. So then that might work really well. Okay, so that was it. Basically, figure out how you're going to get the contract. So I think you've got maybe 3 options. Okay, there might be a third out there. One option, cooperate with the buyer's agent, so they draft it up. Because usually the person that represents the buyer writes the whole contract. All right. Number 2, hire an attorney to do it. Number 3, maybe you go online and Google some things and you and the buyer do something on the back of a napkin. You take it over to escrow, and escrow maybe gives you some recommendations and tells you to fill some things out so that they make sure that they're covered. And that's the video. So I'm going to roll into part 2 of contracts and negotiation. See you soon. Like the video, subscribe. Boom.